Hi, and welcome to Garden in the Burrow. I'm doing something I rarely do out in my own garden, which is sitting in a chair, looking and taking it all in and just enjoying just what is an absolutely gorgeous day today in early July in the garden in the Burrow. And it has been hot. We've had temps in the high 90s, heat index well over 100, humidity. I feel like I've been sort of a slave here and there to the watering in certain areas of the garden, but I thought it'd be kind of fun today to do a little video, walk around, see what's looking great, what's managing the heat well, and have some updates on a few projects that have been ongoing over the past couple, maybe year and a half, and just look at some beautiful flowers. All right, come along for a little tour around the garden. Nothing says July in New England like daylilies. They are a ubiquitous and very popular plant, and they are planted here even though they aren't my favorite. They are so tolerant of so many different garden conditions that they bridge a gap between the early spring and the later blooming things, and to me they're just can't live without plants for that reason. So this one, I have all my reds labeled, but I'm not sure. They're all in this garden. I can't remember what that one is. And it's planted right next to this Dara, which is an annual, which after years of growing it is finally self-seeding all around the garden. So I have many of these plants popping up everywhere, and I love it. So we'll walk out. Oh, there's another one there. Walk out and see what's what in the bigger parts of the garden. There are parts of this garden, and I think of so many gardens that I've visited that aren't about the flowers that are blooming or even necessarily hardscape, but they just feel like, I guess, moments. And I love this little area in my garden that's planted right in front. The lattice that you see in the back, that hides my compost pile. So my huge compost pile, which you'll get to see later on in this video, is right behind there. And this little bench that's been here for eons, and there behind it is a rhododendron, and right to the side are lilacs, and then red osier dogwood planted underneath this birch tree. And I just think this little area always looks so sweet. And this year I usually try and manage that hops vine very well, but this year I'm letting it grow up into that bench because I just think, to me, these are like the little romantic, sweet moments in a garden that make it different from everyone else's garden, make people remember something unusual in a space that doesn't look like every other space that they see people feature on garden tours. And this little pathway, which fairly, I'm going to say, my husband gets annoyed at, because you actually have to move the red osier dogwood out of the way to get down this path. Takes you into the back garden, which we can head into from underneath the rose arbor. We're sadly at the end of rose season, but this rambler is still right until the bitter end. It looks fantastic. And these containers on the side are still looking good despite the heat. I'm going to walk up here and update on the back project we've been working on. Deadhead that spirea. So this project I did late last year. We widened this pathway by about double, changed all the plantings in this garden. This Weigela and this is called tropical toucan ajuga, and this variegated Nanalutea, it's called. It's just such a great moment back here. Ostrich ferns, and I planted 2 quickfire hydrangeas that both did very well over the winter. One is there, not blooming yet. Oh, interesting. We got a little critter action over here. Let's see if we can get him on camera. Where'd he go? Oh, he left. There's a little mouse coming out of the ground over there. Anyway, the roses have had to be protected, and double protected, and they just keep getting nailed by the bunnies. But this is a midnight sun, I have to look up the name of this, Weigela. And I planted, I think, all told, maybe 5 or 6 of these in the garden last year as sort of ground cover near the edge of some of the beds, but just 2 back here. So all the stuff that I planted did pretty well. None of the annual seeds I put in came up, but that's okay. And I did save back over in here this one Echinocloa grass. There were, I'll zoom over in here and you can see the dead ones. The rabbits just wouldn't leave them alone. And so this one that's been protected, I'll be able to take out of the ground and make divisions, and I'll move it elsewhere. Back here is tough because it's wooded in the back and they have lots of hiding spots. Zoom me back out. This garden did really, really well. So we're in year 1 of its new planting. One of the things that was here in this garden that I absolutely loved was the edge, which is this pink spires veronica, which is just starting to come into bloom. You can see it all along the edge here. Another protected rose. All right, and now we're going to head out back. We have had a pretty exceptional heat wave here, and it has been hot, and dry. So I've been having to do a little bit more watering up here than I wanted to. But what we did this morning is we came in and cleared some more of the bottom limbs of the pines. So this is the project that we started a few years ago, and the very first thing that we did was start limbing up the pine trees so that we could walk around back here. And this morning we came out and did a whole nother area. We did some more over in here, and I'll walk you down where we did down in there. There's still more, you can see everywhere. The problem is we have to do it in little bits, so we can either chip it or burn it, and we can't burn it now again until January. So we need to just take it down in chunks that we can manage. So this is the spice bush I planted in here last year, doing fantastic. Oops, sorry for my finger on the lens there. And this side of the pathway is going much slower. So the winter hazel that I planted didn't make the winter, so I replaced it with this Brandywine viburnum. The ferns over here are just constantly getting eaten by herbivores. There is no like Instagram gardening ever here. So things go slow, and we start with plants from cuttings like these red osier dogwoods that I planted last year that are going to take quite some time to fill out. You can see how teeny they are, but they made the winter and they will fill out. There's 6 of them all together, and it's going to take some time and patience, of which I have plenty. When I think back to what this area looked like when we moved here, which was nothing but sand, and now I'm walking in an understory of pine tree, river birch, oak, and willow, I am amazed. So I know it's all going to fill out. Another tough winter was had by these large leaf rhodioes. One of them fared okay. This one got a lot of dieback on the top, and the one over here got some dieback on the top. but they all have new growth and they all look much happier now. So given time, they're going to be fine. On this side of the pathway, I planted some new things. With the heat, a lot of it's struggling, but again, they're all going to be fine in time. Another brandy wine viburnum in there. This plant has been here for years. It's an Aruncus dioicus. It doesn't care about anything. It's happy as a clam. I planted some smooth hydrangea. I planted 3. 2 have survived this heat wave, so that's encouraging. And I'm going to show you as I walk by. I'm going to zoom in the mirror, and I'll insert some pictures too. Is doing exactly what I wanted and reflecting all of the stuff I'm planting at the front of the pathway. And I think it's starting to look amazing. So I'll walk down the other end of the pathway where I haven't really been planting, but just to show you. So this is all geranium macrorrhizum. And when it's in the shade, it's perfectly happy. But when it works its way out into the sun, it gets a little yellow. But I guess I should mention that what I'm using on the pathway on this side is geranium macrorrhizum, or big root geranium, and Symphoricarpos, which is a little native suckering shrub. And right now it's flowering. There's its tiny little flowers. And then it's going to have these fat little white berries. And you can see it suckering and popping up everywhere in here, both on this side and on the other. So in both sun and shade, this plant's doing very well. You can see there's more of its little flowers. And this is proving to be a great addition to back here. There's more of it right here. Coping with the dry just fine. I moved this roost last year and it made the winter. It's not as happy as it was, but I think it will come back. Little hostas in the stumps. And down here, the only plants we put in were a few ferns and some lamium, which is not a favorite of any herbivore, but you can see how damaged it got, but now it's coming back. So hopefully that's going to fill back out, and then we get to decide this year what goes in the fall, what goes in this section right here. All right, so now we'll walk down this pathway and back into the back side of the garden where we just were. Pause to look at the campanula. That's cherry bells. Okay, so I'm standing over now where we did some of the clearing, and part of the reason was I couldn't stand here. So I couldn't water, I couldn't walk the hose from this direction under here to water this area right here. And so we limbed up a lot of pine in here, and there's still plenty more to do. But like I said, and I'll put a little picture or video in here and you can see, we can only do it in bits because we have to, then there's a big pile that has to be either burned or chipped or whatever. And then as soon as that's done, we'll come back out and do some more. So it's all a process around here. I think I said, a minute ago, we don't Instagram garden here, which means, would I love to do it all in one day with a crew and go out and buy hundreds of plants and get everything completely done and chipped and planted? Sure. But this garden has been a work in progress for years and years and years. And I'll also include at the end of this a little picture of this area before we started. And you'll see that, you can see maybe, I think in this picture, some of the original white pines, and they're probably about this tall, and they were planted back here. And then over the course of time since we started this, which was probably in, we probably put the first white pines in 2000 and maybe 2 or 4, somewhere around there. And we've added since then 3 river birch, There's two willows, which were part of the original planting we did when we first got here on either corner. There's a cherry, and there's an oak tree, and I think that's it for woody plants. But they've grown that big in 20 years. The huge difference that this back is, and it's edged in arborvitae and forsythia down near the front, and arborvitae on the other side. So anyway, as we're limbing these up, it means that now we can walk underneath them instead of around them, and it's been great. So as we just keep going, we keep doing that and adding more plantings on the lower level, and then our mid-level planting, which so far has been forsythia, smooth hydrangeas, which we have a couple here, some viburnums, and Symphorocopros albus. So we'll see where it goes from there. This area behind the shed is one that I love every year when this moment happens. And this is an ivory halo variegated dogwood. And this is an herbaceous clematis called Manchurica. You can see now it has been in bloom for maybe a couple of weeks. This thing gets cut back to the ground in the spring, and it puts on about maybe, I don't know, 8 feet of growth. And then it flowers for maybe 3 or 4 weeks through July. It's the beginning of daylily season here, and a lot of you recognize this, Hemerocrallis flava, which is the ditch lily, and a lot of you don't like it. I do know that people have really strong reactions to this plant. It is a weed, but back here, it is the perfect plant. I love it against the white fence. It copes with the conditions. When it's done blooming, I'll cut it all back, which will be a bit because actually I grow a cultivated variety with double blooms um, that will come after this. So they're all interspersed in here. So I want to just look at these arbors for a second because, I'm after 30 plus years of doing this, you're always learning something. So I just planted on this side of the arbor over here, right where that cage is, an Eden climbing rose. So there were clematis on both sides of this arbor, all the way down on each side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And what I've learned over time is clematis does not want to climb these arbors. And I think it's because they're metal and it's hot. That's a guess. But so if you'll notice, I'm going to pan this way and you can see this clematis that was meant to climb this arbor. And it was always in the daylilies. And if I put a piece of it tied onto the arbor, it would immediately turn brown and die back. And I think it doesn't like the heat on the metal. And so I put this piece of twine for the stem that didn't die and have put it going toward the fence. And you can see all the flowers that are about to open on it. And so now I'm going to either keep it like that or replace it. The other thing I was hoping when I kind of noticed this was that if I put a secondary climber, in this case, this is a harlequin honeysuckle, and I thought if the honeysuckle filled out the arbor and the clematis could climb the honeysuckle, it wouldn't mind so much. This has been here for, I don't know, 3 years. It's languishing, so we have to decide what to do about that side. But this side, the Eden climber, will hopefully do great. There was a clematis on this side I took out and moved. There is a yellow sensation honeysuckle on the right side of this one. On the left side is hops humulus lupulus aurea, golden leaf hops, and also hardy kiwi vine, both growing on that side. And then on the third set down here, we have another hardy kiwi vine that's doing quite well. On this side, major wheeler honeysuckle that's doing okay. And a climbing rose from the knockout family of roses that's called winter circle. And this thing will just keep pumping out these little red flowers from now until frost. Once it gets going, it just keeps going and going and going. So you can see how many little flowers, sort of like rambler rose size, and how many buds. So this thing's just going to go and go and go. And this also did get cut back down to the ground because of herbivore damage over the winter. And you can see how robust it is. It's come right back. So live and learn, right? So now hopefully after all this time, we're going to actually have something growing on each side of these arbors. It's taken forever, but 4 are all set. The last 2 are works in progress. And so because it is daylily season, I grow so many, and they'll start now in early July, and they're going to keep blooming and blooming and blooming until I don't even know what month. We have Franz Hall, which blooms late September. I'm gonna just put a little bit of footage of some of the ones that are blooming now. I'll leave you with a little bit of footage of some of my pool area containers, and I used Supertunia Vista White Snowdrift or something like that. Snowdrift, I think. And this is 2 plants. And now there are 2 other varieties of plant in this container that are completely swamped and non-existent from this petunia, Supertunia, spreading out so much. You can't even see them. There's sun patiens in here. There's some, I'm trying to clear the way so you can see, oh, there is one. There's a sun patient. And there's some sedum in the back, but this Supertunia has just taken over. So this year I decided to simplify my pool containers and do only white flowers for the most part. So I'll show you a couple more. I'll swing past in here. And this is another one that has that same Supertunia. And it has a sedum October Daphne in the back and an aster that will bloom later if the Supertunia doesn't take over. That's only one plant in the front there. In this bed also is another campanula and another white flower growing in the pool area. And I'll talk about that in a second after I go over here and show you this last container. And this one hasn't gotten as big. That was one of those Supertunias. And I put in white geranium and some lobelia and verbena Bampton, which is delightful. This is the sweetest, looks like fireworks above this container. I love it. But anyway, I decided this year to do a lot of white in the pool area. We are out here a lot at nighttime, and white flowers show up brilliantly. So there's another container that has, I didn't do the Supertunia in this one. I just did sun patiens and the hardy geranium and a coleus that I overwintered. Kind of regretting not putting that Supertunia in there, but so this container has moonflower seeds planted in it, and they've just gotten going. So I'll be climbing up this trellis. And there's also this cornflower in here I grew from seed that's just starting to open. You can see all the buds on that. So this moonflower, this trellis, which is pretty tall, should be covered in this vine if all goes well. I'll back out so you can see how tall it is. And hopefully, as the season goes on, this trellis will be completely filled, and I'll update you on how that worked out. I've grown moonflowers a bunch of times before, always out in the main gardens, never in this area. But I think it would be really neat to have them blooming here at nighttime. And like I said, I love the white. I'm so happy. I just simplified. Instead of picking a bunch of different flowers and plants, I just picked basically white and, a smaller amount of variety of plants, and I couldn't be happier. All right, I'm going to leave you with some footage of some other areas in and around the garden, and happy gardening.